Hi, this is Donna from Clever Crafting. Thank you for joining me here today. So this is the first card from our Christmas Icons Card Makers Kit. We are going to be using the bell from the Mixed Icons die, which comes in the kit, with some seed beads, a piece of metallic gold card, a piece of acetate, a black card base. These are all A6 sizes, and then we've just got a piece of white paper in the middle, and of course we will be using our metric rectangles to make the frame. So the first frame we're going to cut out of the gold card, we're using our metric rectangle number 2, which is 14.3 centimeters from top to bottom and 10 centimeters wide, and then we're going to use our metric rectangle number 4, which is 12.8 centimeters from top to bottom and 8.5 centimeters wide. So this is just sign language I'm doing here, in case those of you are wondering what on hell I'm doing with my fingers. So that's what is going on. All right, so now we've got a second frame here. Now this frame, the outer frame is 11.3 centimeters by 7 centimeters. That's a metric rectangle number 8. And then we've got the internal rectangle is 9.8 centimeters by 5.5 centimeters, which I believe is a rectangle number 11, might actually be a number 12. Alright, so you can see that what I've done is I have stuck all of those onto my A6 piece of metallic card, and I've also put one of the bells on there, and I've run that through my die cutter. So now I'm carefully taking it all apart. Now this very outside piece I'm going to put aside because I can keep for something else. I'm going to use that frame. The next piece I'm not going to use today, so I'm going to pop that aside to use on a frame on a different project on another day, and then I am just going to pull these pieces out. Now you can see that I've kept the frames. I've been very careful to keep my frames together because I am going to be using the frames again, and we want to make sure that our frames are all exactly the same size because we're going to use frames to do the layering, to cut layers so we can make our shaker element. Alright, so you can see what I've done there. I'm going to cut out a couple more bells. Just pulling out the bell so you can see it all nice and die cut. There it is, beautiful. Alright, so now I'm going to cut some more frames, and I'm using cereal box. So you can see here my result. I've got one cereal box frame from the largest frame. I've got 3 cereal box frames for the center frame, which is going to be our shaker element. And then I have 3 bells. Actually, I think that I'll be doubling up on the bells. I think I'll put 2 bits, end up putting 2 bits of card behind each one of the bells that I use in the shaker part. So I've just popped some glue on this is the large frame, and I've put glue all the way around the outside, and I've put the gold on top. I'm then going to put them aside to dry. Now for this one, I'm actually doing this a little bit differently than what I did in class. I'm joining all 3 frames, then I'm going to put the double-sided tape around the top. These are the cardboard or the cereal box frames that I'm doing this with. Now these are wide enough for the double-sided tape to go around the outside edge without having any hanging over. So I've removed all of the tape, all of the release paper from my double-sided tape, and I'm just going to put a spot of glue all the way around the edge as well. The reason that I'm doing this is to make sure that my acetate is really secure. I want to make sure that the acetate is sealed immediately, which is what the tape is for, and the glue will make sure that it won't come off. So that's really important that where possible you use both. So you can notice that I haven't used double-sided foam tape, which you could if you wanted to. I just find it easier to use the frames that I've cut. Alright, I'm now putting glue on the back of the gold frame, and that wasn't going to line up properly. Remember I said it's good to keep the frames together to make sure we have the exact right size of the frames. So that was a little bit narrower at the top than the bottom, so I was able to make sure that that lined up perfectly. So here I am, I'm just popping the card, the cereal box. I keep forgetting the name for that. I'm getting a mental blank today. I'm sticking the cereal box to the back of the piece to the back of the gold card die cut bell, and I'm going to do the same with the other ones. But as I said, I ended up putting 2 pieces of the cardboard behind that. Alright, I'm going to start putting this together. So I am going to start by sticking on the outside frame. So this is to help me keep everything centered. If I start from the outside and move in, it's easier to line things up. Well, I find it is anyway. Alright, I'm going to use the smaller frame. I'm going to position it. Now for those of you who did the class with me, we did it differently in the first class we did a few days ago. I Yeah, so what I'm doing is I just drew a square all the way around the outside of that frame. You can see that there. This is so I know where to position my bells. Now this gold thread that comes in with the bells is quite fine. I'm just going to feed it through. You can see the hole at the top of the bell that I'm going to feed it through. And I'm just going to put that aside. I'm going to do that for both the bells. Going to grab some of this double-sided tape, and I'm going to use this to help me secure the string for the bells in place. So I've gone to the top edge and I am placing this double-sided tape right on the edge of where I drew the line, because we want to make sure that none of it is exposed. All right, I'm going to take the release paper off, and I'm going to position my bells. I'm just twisting up the thread here so I can stick it down. Now this design actually came from my friend Mel, so this was her design, and that I'm teaching you here today, so thanks for that, Mel. All right, so we've got one bell down, and now we're going to pop the other bell down. So you can see that I'm using the double-sided tape at the top to hold that string in place, that very fine gold thread. So, and I'm also making sure that my bells are within that pencil line. Just as a final check, I'm going to grab my frame and put it over. Can you see that the bells are going out too wide, because I didn't allow enough room along the outside edge for the frame to stick down? So I'm going to move my bells in a little bit closer. I've just moved that one in, and I'm going to move the other one in as well. Okay, so now that I've got all of those, got the bells positioned, I'm going to glue them down. However, I think that you could just leave them like that and they would swing with the shaker elements that you put in there, the seed beads we're putting in there. I did glue them down, but I'm going to make this card again, and I'm going to have the bells just loose and swinging, because I think that that would work famously. All right, so I'm popping a bit of glue on the back. Please make sure that when you're putting the glue on these elements and sticking them down, that you're not putting the glue right to the very edge, because when you press down, the glue's going to, you know, spread out, and you don't want it spreading out so your shaker elements, in this case seed beads, get stuck to the glue, because then, well, that eliminates the shaker element, doesn't it? So now I've glued the second one down. I'm just going to move that over, obviously, and straighten it up a little bit. Excellent. Okay, so now I am just getting any glue that is spread out a little bit. I'm going to trim off my cotton thread so it's level with my double-sided tape, because once again we don't want that hanging out the top. And we're going to add some seed beads. So you only need a tiny amount of seed beads. You can see here that I'm not using many at all. I'm going to pop some in just there. I'm making sure, once again, that's really close to the bells and it's not going to get stuck in the frame when I put it down. I'm going to add a few more to this card on the other side. So there it is, beautiful. Push all of them in. Just make sure you don't move this around too much, and remember that we are working directly on the front of the card. So now I'm just going to pop some glue on my frame. Once again, making sure that I'm not putting glue right to the very edge, because I don't want it spreading out underneath there and getting my seed beads stuck to it. The other thing that you can do is that you can just flatten it out or dab any excess off with a bit of scrap paper. So I'm just lining that up with the square that I drew inside, you know, on my card there with the pencil early enough. You're not going to see that pencil mark at all, which is fabulous. And there is our shaker card. The advantage of glue, of course, is that you can move it a little bit. So now I've got a couple of close-up photos for you. This sounds excellent, by the way, with the seed beads in there against that acetate. So the photos that I've got, though, are of the same design card, but actually a different card, because I gave the card that I videoed away before I took photos. So that was silly. Anyway, so here's some photos of that card. Actually, this was the one that we made in class the other day. But it works the same. It's beautiful. It's a simple card. You could do it in gold, red, green, silver. You could do it in any color at all if you like. You could do multiple colors too. We just tried to keep it monochromatic this time. Anyway, I want to thank you very much again for joining me today. If you've learned something, I'd love you to give me a thumbs up or even consider subscribing. And until next time, stay safe and happy crafting.